one of the key points is that organizational culture changes play a key role in closing the loop. And yet, our research shows that there's a tremendous commitment gap. And that is the difference between the expected optimal level of commitment and what the respondents said they believe the current full level of commitment is from their executive management. And we see a 51% gap between that optimal and the current level of commitment. And that's a tremendous challenge. Now, it doesn't mean that management isn't committed to making it happen. What it means is that the perception is that the full commitment isn't there. And obviously, that creates tremendous challenges. The other key challenge is that as an industry, what the data shows is that we have a tendency to throw things over the wall. So, every silo is done with their part of the process, and then they throw it over the wall to the next. So product design and engineering is done. You've gotten, your 510K or your PMA, and now it's manufacturing's turn to make it work. And then once it goes and you have an issue, then the regulatory people deal with that, as opposed to looking at this holistically. So the data shows when we divided the data set between the innovators and the laggards that Sandra had defined for us a little bit early on, you can see that innovators, only 20% of innovators say that they throw it over the wall most of the time, compared to 36% for the laggards. When we look at limited collaboration, you can also see some differences, but really where you see a tremendous difference is when we asked about whether they have a fully integrated closed-loop change and configuration management process across the product lifecycle. And as you can see, 80% of innovators say that they have a fully integrated process, and none of the laggards agreed with that statement. So obviously this plays a tremendous role. So with that, I'd like to ask Bill, how important, in your opinion, are organizational and culture in cross-functional team collaboration in achieving a successful change and configuration management process?
So Dan, we work in an industry that requires us to deliver products that are safe and effective and are good for the public. The way that we do that isn't always done in a collaborative manner. We create silos. We worry about what we get incentivized by and so forth. But to get things done, they don't happen in those silos. They happen in a collaborative manner. And so we as management, as leaders in this industry, we need to create that culture that makes people want to work collaboratively, or maybe better put, not make them work, but want them to work in that environment. And that's something that I think in talking with my peers within the industry is not something that's natural. We have to make that happen.
That's a great point. Ugo, how do you see the organizational culture and cross-functional team collaboration playing as it relates to our industry?
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with Bill's point around teamwork. The one thing I would add is, as we move and work with more complex systems, that even gets that need to cross-functionally work together gets highlighted even more, right? These complex systems can lead to complex changes, and in order to fully address and evaluate the impact of a change, you need that cross-functional support, but you need that exchange of ideas between the different groups to make sure that the different interfaces and the complexities are well addressed. No one function can do that. And so the other piece is that can't be a siloed process, right? You may have all the players, but if it goes kind of in a chain one at a time, you don't get that exchange. And so that exchange of ideas, that discussion between the different functions is important to ensure changes are adequately addressed.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You know, as we said earlier, the complexity of devices is definitely increasing, and with that complexity comes the need to interact with a lot more disciplines and a lot more quote-unquote silos within the organization so that you can prevent problems before they move down the product life cycle, and that really makes a tremendous impact.